Okay, thank you everyone for coming. The speeches are all going to be in English tonight, so William can understand. I think you all speak English well enough. He's the only one who doesn't speak Hungarian. But anyway, we'll start the speeches now. If anyone gets too quiet, and I hope everyone will speak as loudly and as clearly as I am. If anyone's too quiet, please raise your hand, and William will speak more loudly.
I'll translate for you.
Off you go.
Well, I want to tell you all the origin story, because some people don't know it. It's all thanks to Julie, the queen of matchmakers! I met Julie at the College of Foreign Trade, and I was quite interested, quite liked classical music, but Julie was clearly obsessed. And Julie was involved with the Jeunesse musical movement. That aim was to spread the love of classical music amongst the population. This is how we ended up in 1970 in the Page International Jeunesse Musical music course.
First camp.
First camp. We were interpreters and organizers, and we were quite busy and jolly and all that. So one evening, a party of four arrived. A certain Anne, whose name I can't remember, but who was half Hungarian, and we knew her. Another girl, never heard of her again, James Fair, who trained to be a music teacher, and William Courage. Now, William Courage was the only person who wasn't interested in classical music. Well, this might well have ended up as a normal summer romance. But Julie and late Sándor Anni and I decided to have an August weekend at Balaton. And Julie, bless her heart, absolutely insisted that we send a postcard to William Courage. Nothing happened. There was, as it is usual in the United Kingdom, a railway strike, a postal strike, 3 months long. Suddenly, a letter arrived from Ireland. Yes, it was nice. It was the usual stuff.
You couldn't read it.
And so there were letters toing and froing, difficult to read either way, holidays in Scotland the following summer, holiday in Transylvania the following summer, Christmas is in Budapest. My grandfather said, "What's this?" when William arrived at Christmas Eve. And anyway, the parents, all parents got a bit restless and suspicious. And they started to wonder what this was all about. When October came and William proposed. And my father, who was a well-known, outspoken person, he said, my dear boy, do you know what you are letting yourself in for? My daughter is a terrible person. Undeterred, we started jumping the hoops as prescribed by the European Convention of Human Rights. The Hungarians didn't want to let me go, the British didn't want to let me in. But in the end, all the papers were ready and we got married in March 1973. And the knight in shining armor fulfilled his promise. And thank you very much for a wonderful life.
To be clear, William will speak next.
It's not always been like this. We have made it. Here we are in Geyenesdias to celebrate our 50th wedding anniversary and the building of a second house with 4 grandchildren and a comfortable income. Thank you all for coming. We have those who have travelled from further afield, especially to be here. Moni, Cease's cousin from Sweden, Peter and Susie from Berlin, Michael, Kat's stepfather, and Nigel and Maria from England. Notwithstanding my fluency in Hungarian, it can't have been easy to have a labour-intensive and inquisitive husband who is not also deaf and thinking 2 languages. I mean, it's quite remarkable, really. Thank you, dear wife, for your... I'm lost for words. Thank you, dear wife, for your... I'm not sure quite what to say here. Patience, maybe. Patience.
Speak up.
Patience.
Patience.
We have done many things together since our marriage in 1973. Our first house was Ruston Mews, a 2-bedroom house next door to a railway line and an underground station. We have spent 2.5 years in Nairobi, Kenya, and from there took holidays in the Seychelles, Mauritius, Malawi, Zambia, while Hannah, our ayah, looked after the children. So this was a real change in our life. Speak up! Speak up! I thought I was doing pretty well. Can you hear me, everybody? Yeah. Thank you. Don't listen to him. No, where was I?
Nairobi.
Yeah. Okay. Domi was born in Nairobi. We have been on cycling holidays with our children and done many other things. Since our retirement 17 years ago, we've taken many memorable holidays together, and have been as far afield as Australia. Our current house, number 17 Coombe Martin Road, where a number of you have stayed, was acquired after a long search post our return from Kenya. My wife thought it too run down. Neither the neighbourhood nor the house was quite what she had imagined, but we bought it anyway. Times were difficult back then, and for part of that time I was depressed, difficult to live with, and without a job. I'm not sure how many young couples today would personally decorate and care for their property as we did, not to mention all the gardening that has been done. Cheers for the garden. We have visited this country at least once a year throughout our married life. It's part of the marriage contract. And for my part was enchanted by my father-in-law and mother-in-law for the short period that I knew them. 2009 was a difficult year for both of us. I was in hospital with major cancer surgery and then in psychiatric hospital. This is a true family event. I'm delighted to see the Rats family here, Philip, Borry, plus Tent, and their 4 children. Cece's uncle, Elamir, once said that most of his friends are either boring, suffer from dementia,
Or are dead.
or are dead. And they therefore had to cultivate the friendship of younger people. Of course, we are all under 50 here, and certainly don't suffer from dementia, old age, or anything else like that. Isn't that right? Thank you for Elizabeth for your company.
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth first.
Never, ever.
Thank you everyone for making it here. I think this is a true family event, and it's very nice to have such a young audience. Remember, we are still under 50. Thank you for listening.
Now, boys.
We are shot.
So, as you just heard, the plan actually was to have William, our dear father, speak first, and then to finish with the nice little bit about the knight in shining armour fulfilling his promise. It truly was a match made in heaven. The dashing Prince Charming from far off lands arriving in his shining armour to awaken the slumbering princess. One kiss, which neither of them remember. I've asked them both, where and when was your first kiss? And neither of them know.
But there was one.
But
At least.
here they are, living happily ever after.
Well, it wasn't quite that simple. They had to overcome many differences along the way, not least the small matter of languages. How would the Prince Charming, having doggedly pursued the princess across the continent, overcome the language barrier? Well, his response was to be magnificently himself. One of the greatest achievements of 50 years of marriage has been his refusal, unless absolutely necessary, to learn anything more than essential Hungarian. Sure, bor, palinka. All of these drinks are available tonight in very, very large quantities. But most useful of all, nyugalom chigave, which translates as, calm down dear, have blood like a snail. For the English husbands amongst you, I'd warn against using that with your wives in any circumstance. I've tried it and it doesn't get well received. Her response has been no less valiant. Her refusal, unless absolutely necessary, to speak any English when there's the option of speaking Hungarian has been truly magnificent. Now this prolonged and unrelenting punishment of her husband also extends to issuing instructions. Yle! Állj fel! Ne horkolj ennyit! Fingolásszál csöndesebben! Often furiously followed up with Chimpikém! Listen to me when I'm speaking to you! Like many things in life, they have found their way of dealing with the language barrier in their own way. And they are nothing if not determined to do things just the way they want to.
There's more. We already know that it was music that brought them together at the Jeunesse Musicale gathering in Page. Cece, Elizabeth, listens to BBC Radio 3 from morning until night. She loves going to concerts and visiting the opera, a passion she shares with many of you, but not her husband.
I was going to say that in my speech. I mean,
Okay, Chaka.
Excuse me?
Not your turn.
He is spectacularly ignorant of music. When I recently put on a song by the Beatles, a band you may have heard of, which I thought the whole family would like at Christmas, he said angrily, "What is this terrible music? Turn it off." Thankfully, he did have a dear friend who shared his future wife's passion for music, as we have heard. It is James Fair, who is no longer with us, and his love of music that brought us here today, all of us. And of course, that great musical matchmaker, Yuli, who we've already applauded.
Nice, no.
So our dad's lifelong passion behind the camera can also be a safe place to hide, as you can see here. And from this safe place, his constant quest is for that perfect picture of his wife. Eurogam, look at me. Smile when I'm taking a photo. Stop scowling. But after 50 years of being photographed, she hates being in front of the camera and gives no hint of a smile. And never is everyone's agony more prolonged than in the group photo. The tripod is up. The poses are meticulously positioned. The timer continues to misfire. Over here. You may have been in these photos. Now, many of his photos, we have to admit, are excellent, but very rarely.
Yeah. Yes.
Bravo! But very rarely are these ones. Any moment of spontaneity has long since passed. Joppa, having rushed into place, is standing stock still, like a crazed Cub Scout. Prodigious courage nose, which I have won myself, pointed proudly and triumphantly to the sky. 4 to 5 poor guests are gazing in different directions, longing for the end. And Nunchika at this point is in open revolt, heckling something about the food getting cold from the sidelines. But if you've been in any of these photos, and I think that most of you have, then you know that it's because he wants to capture the highlights of life, most of which are about friends being together and sharing good times like this one.
Now his endless tinkering with the camera may infuriate his wife, but as Nonchika says, you will rarely meet such an honest and principled man. Throughout his working life, my father has always fought his battles with courage and integrity. We didn't see it at the time as children, but there can be no doubt that it paid off. Part of it is that Japa always made sure to keep a tight rein on finances. Sisi was never a big spender, but you can never be too sure. The result is that by the time they were well into retirement, 17 years in fact, he was able to build her the wonderful house you see opposite this one. The plan was to build a garden shed. And look at it now. It appears he has grown soft in his old age when it comes to the finances.
Well, the endless and hilarious ways in which they push and pull continue to entertain us. But they have been supported in all of this by some true heroes. Spotty, Bogar, and Ginor, who listen to both sides of an argument, obey instructions most of the time, and take their owners for nightly walks, where it can all be discussed and unpacked and gossiped, and everything can be settled. Maybe the truth in the end is that our parents know the lessons that only dogs can teach us. That you can still be yourself in a marriage if you have unquestioning loyalty. Whatever the secret may be for 50 years of marriage, we are so happy to celebrate that with them today. Thank you all for coming. And if you could all raise what's left of your glasses for a toast to, what do we call them? The 50-year-old marriage.
The golden oldies!
The golden oldies.
The golden oldies!
Nigel, are you standing there for a reason?
I'm standing here astonished. I wanted to make
As far as I remember watching I don't know if it was Gatwick or Heathrow flights passing over above us during the summer, and I had a Wimbledon '94 T-shirt which I threw out I think a year ago. It didn't fit me anymore. And then and I remember the milkman. I don't know if it still comes or not. You still have milkmen there?
Different milkman.
I'll leave the milkman.
Prettier and prettier. We call it postás, postman in Hungarian. And then I remember you making me the best baked pasta with cheese on top. You just put into the oven. I never had that at home before. I had a very tough childhood. Then I went to Wimbledon or your place, and it all changed. And then I was listening to Bob Marley here, and I think that was the first time I ever listened to Bob Marley, the Legend album, at your place.
That's Tommy.
That was you.
I can't stand Bob Marley.
So I bought the album actually. Yeah, it was good to hear it tonight. Yeah, and of course thousands of other memories. Being bitten by the mosquitoes here a few times, and sleeping in the, I don't even know how we call it in Hungarian, where the pantry, maybe not the pantry. Shufni. Yeah. And all the crazy stuff we did with the boys. So, yeah. 50 years, what, 50 more? You sign it if that was enough? or
We're
what?
still under first 50, remember.
So, enjoy the next 50.
Did you also have this lovely dessert? Because that's what I learned there. I mean, I just loved it. I used to study in London, and I went to London and I didn't speak a word because I got a scholarship, and Sissy helped me so much with the language, and I used to sleep with with nevakarots.
Boggy.
Yeah, and it was just an amazing time at Wimbledon, and I also couldn't pronounce this street name for years. So. Thank you so much for all your help.
How many dogs did you have?
3, Spotty, Boggy, and Gino. When I had, we both had another 10 before that.
I remember, so I think it was Spotty when I was there.
I continue as a goddaughter, my dearest godparents, Sissy and William. And I don't often cry when I talk, but I see my mom sitting here now. Who I thank that you are my godparents. And I believe Kumartin Road is actually the real Hungarian embassy in As we all had this huge privilege being so, you were so wonderful people to have all these guests, wanted or not sometimes, I don't know, because everyone went there. And we all learned English the long way from Heathrow to Kumartin Road. That was my first, I was very anxious when, how will I survive this drive? What will I talk? How will I understand William? So this was the first language school. And yes, and all our talks, and I will not talk long today, but thank you so much for having you in my life. And congratulations to you both.
Elég volt. Langosabban.
25 years ago on the boat or ship or whatever, on the Danube, the students had to stand
Yes.
up or go to...
There's the picture.
Here's the picture.
Oh, that's the
May I see?
Other way around.
So the question is that I don't know how many is here.
Okay, so we have the same. We have the
Álljatok csak föl szépen!
Tényleg rajta, nem.
Jó képű vagyok, hogy
So the question is that you build the second house here, and you build the second house in London.
I was such a
So what is
but this is on record. It's a video. How do I make a picture? How do I take a picture? Okay. Yeah. Still recording. It's still recording.
It's a humble memory.
It's recording. It's on.